Okay, guys, what we're going to be talking about today is what's called the remainder theorem. And the remainder theorem is dealing specifically when you have a polynomial and you're dividing it by a linear factor. So right here, all of these are called linear factors. Okay? So when you're dividing a polynomial, all right, by a linear factor, sometimes they have different remainders. Whenever you get a remainder of 0, if you ever get a remainder of 0, that means that x plus 8 would be considered a factor that would go into that big old long polynomial. But if you get a remainder other than 0, that means it's not a factor. So is x minus 8 a factor? No. Is x minus 5 a factor? No. X plus 5? No. X plus 8 would be a factor because it has a remainder of 0. So that whenever the r value equals 0, that lets you know that it's a factor. Okay? Now, something you guys need to understand is something called, we're going to talk about synthetic division. We're going to talk about synthetic substitution. Okay? So I want you guys to write something down right here. Hopefully you've written some things down. If you are dividing by x minus 8, if you're dividing by x minus 8, so I'm going to write the word dividing. This is supposed to be the word dividing. If you're dividing by x minus 8, you actually get to substitute a positive 8. Why a positive 8? Because what number could you plug in there to make this equal to 0? You could plug in an 8. Okay? All right. So if you're dividing by an x minus 5, that means you're actually plugging into the equation, you're plugging in a positive 5. If you're dividing by x plus 5, what are you actually plugging into the equation? The opposite, which is negative 5. And if you are dividing by x plus 8, that means you're plugging in a negative 8. Okay, let's check this out. Now, if I plug in an 8, do you know what my remainder ends up being? It ends up being a 5. If I plug in a 5, my remainder ends up being a 3. If I plug in a negative 5, my remainder is negative 2. And if I plug in a negative 8, my remainder is 0. So check this out. This says what? P of 5 equals what? What do you guys think P of 5 is going to equal? 3. Very good. And what's P of negative 8? There you go. And those are my answers. Don't worry. We'll be doing more than one example, okay? So it's okay. Just if you didn't get it right, it's all right. We'll do more than one example. So if I plug in a negative 5, what was my, sorry, when I plug in a 5, what was my answer? What'd you guys get? 3. And if I plug in a negative 8, what's my answer? 0. And voila. Okay? You're like, oh my gosh, there's no way I can do this graph. That's okay. I don't want you guys to do this graph. Okay? Don't do this graph. We're going to do a different graph and see if you guys understand it, okay? So could you please draw a graph with me in your journal? I'm going to make it very easy. We're not going to make it difficult at all. Please make your x-axis and then make your y-axis, okay? Now, the only thing that's going to be really important is the actual points we're going to use. So I'm going to use this point right here. And that ordered pair, everybody, is at a negative 2 and a positive 3. So please use negative 2, positive 3. I'm going to use, let's put this one point right here. Okay? And this ordered pair is going to be at a negative 1 and a negative 2. And let's do one more point. How about right there? Okay? And that's going to be at a 3 and a 2. Now, your sketch that you're going to do in your journal, your sketch doesn't have to be perfect, okay? But I just want your sketch to be in the general vicinity, okay? So here we go. I'm going to start traveling up. It's going to be kind of ugly, but that's okay. Hit that point. We're going to go back down. Just go through. Oh, that's not very good. go back down, hit this point, go back up. All right, and I'm just going to go through it like this. It's okay, right? Just like that. Just make sure you go through it and then go back down. So do your best to go and sketch this graph. All right, so we're going to give a name to this polynomial. All right, so I just want you to put a little arrow. We're going to call this guy P of X. P of X. All right. So if you would please, over here to the left, I want you to put P of, and I want you to put P of -2. And then I want you to put P of -1. And I want you to put P of +3. Okay? And remember, this is dealing with our function, our polynomial function known as P of X. All right, so P of X is considered to be, what do we call? A polynomial. I don't know what it's actually, it's going to be a quartic function in a negative direction, but I don't know exactly, what function it is. I'd have to do some math, but I'm not going to do that. Yeah, we're going to be dividing by, well, we'll show you what this is being actually divided by, okay? So check this out. First of all, let's do some evaluation. If I say P of -2, what's my Y value when my X value is at a 2? My Y value is at a what? 3. So put P of -2 is 3. All right. What about at -1? What's my -2? Perfect. And at 3, what's my Y value? 2. I know it's not a very good 2, but that's supposed to be a 2 right there. Okay. Now here's what this means, guys. If I plug in a -2, that means this is actually, this would be the answer. This would be the remainder if you divided by parentheses x plus 2. If you divided by x plus 2, this guy would be your remainder. If you divided by parentheses x plus 1, this would be your remainder. All right? So what am I dividing by here? What do you guys think? X minus 3. Very good. So if I'm dividing by x minus 3, this number would be my remainder. Okay? So can I go back to our actual Khan Academy question so you guys can see how easy it is? This is like one of the easiest questions as long as you know what you're doing. Okay? Let me go back. What are we dividing by? X plus 1. So literally we're trying to find P of -1 because we're dividing by x plus 1. Well, if this is my x value, ready? That's my x value. Here, I'll kind of do my little lines here. If that's my x value, what's my y value? What is it? 3. That's my answer. So I'm going to let you guys take a look at that real quick. I'm going to pause the video real quick. Let you guys take a look. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're just going to type into 3 so you guys understand that what I'm telling you is correct. There we go. See, good work. Keep it up. 2 more. So 2 more, we'll be done. Okay, guys, now this is going to be important. I need you guys to carefully, right there, write this bad boy down in your journal. Understand we are going to be finding the value of k. This is going to take a little bit more work, not much, but a little bit more work. So go and write that down carefully. All right, so if you haven't done synthetic division, we're going to do what's called synthetic division, a little review. Okay, so this is kind of how I do it. There's different people do it different ways in different textbooks, but I like to make a little L looking thing like this. Okay, now do you see how it starts off with x to the power of 4? All right, I'm going to put x to the power of 4, and then we got to go down, descend. Descend means like go down with your exponents. We're going to go x to the power of 3, then we're going to go x squared, then we're going to go x to the power of 1, and yes, we're going to finish at x to the power of 0, which is your constant at the end. Okay. Now, whenever you're doing synthetic division and you have to divide by this polynomial, this linear factor, what you have to do is you always have to do the opposite. So if that says x minus 1, you got to put a just regular 1. If that said x plus 1, you have to put a -1. So I'm going to put a 1 right there. Now, how many x to the power of 4s do we have? What coefficient's right in front of it? It's actually a 1. So I'm going to lead off with a 1. That says negative 2x cubed. So I'm going to make this a negative 2. Oh, I don't see any x squareds. Do you guys see any x squareds? No. So guess what I got to put? I got to put a big old fat 0. Oh, what coefficient's in front of my x? So how about a k? And what number is at the very, very, very end? Negative 4. So I've already done synthetic division with most of my classes, so I've done previous videos so you can go back and watch synthetic division. But the very first thing you always do is you always drop down that very first number. So I'm dropping down the 1. Now after you drop down the 1, you take this 1 and you multiply it to this 1 and you get 1. And then you take the negative 2 and the 1 and you always add these guys together. So these will always be added together. So you get negative 1. And then 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. And then what do you always do with these? You always add them together, and 0 plus negative 1 is negative 1. And then 1 times 1, negative 1, is still negative 1. And what do I have to do? I have to add these together. Uh-oh. I got k plus a negative 1, which is literally just k plus a negative 1. But I'm going to stop. Yeah, you can put k minus 1. But I'm going to still stop. Check this out. What does it say? It says, what is the value of k when we have a remainder of what? Oh, okay. Guess what I know? I have a remainder of what? 0. So guess what? So now I got a remainder of 0. So what number would have to go here to make, boom, positive 4? Let's go backwards. Let's go backwards. What number times 1 is 4? 4. Would you guys, now let's watch. Is 1 times 4, 4? Yes. Do these have to add together to equal 0? Yes. So let's highlight what we really need. Ready? This is all we need right here. Think about it. K minus 1 is 4. What did you guys get? That's right. K is 5, everybody. K is 5. Because why? 5 minus 1 is 4. You're like, oh my gosh, that's so hard. Guess what? We'll have a shortcut. I'll show you guys a shortcut. It's very, very easy. You guys ready? Here's the shortcut. But I need your help. I'm going to go down here. What was P of x? P of x, to start out with what? 1x to the power of 4. Then it was minus 2x to the power of 3. Then it was what? Plus kx? Okay, there we go. By the way, what were we dividing by, guys? What was the factor we were dividing by? X minus 1. So check this out. What could we do? We could literally plug in a what? And what does our remainder have to equal? Our remainder has to equal. So check this out. What I want you to do in your journal right now, I'm about to pause the video. I'm going to write this down. I want you to write this down carefully in your journal. We're making P of x equal to 0. And what are we plugging in for all of the x's? We're plugging in the number 1. And then we're going to do minus 2, parentheses 1 cubed. And then we're going to put plus k times 1. And we're going to put minus 4. I'm going to pause the video to give my students a chance to catch up. So now we're just going to evaluate it. 0 equals, now 1 to the power of 4 is still just a 1. Okay? 1 to the power of 3 is also still just a 1, but what's it being multiplied? By negative 2. So put 1 minus 2. Plus k times 1 is just k minus 4. So we just got to add some like terms together. It'll be very, very easy. Let's add some like terms. I got a 1 minus a 2 minus a 4. So negative 2, negative 4, that's negative 6 plus 1 is a negative 5. So put negative 5. You can always use a calculator, right? 1 minus 2 minus 4 still get you what? Negative 5. Hey, look! What number would have to go in there for it to work? Oh, or if you wanted to, if you really wanted to, you could, if you wanted to, add 5 to both sides just to make yourself feel better. It's okay. So what is k equal to, everybody? 5. What did we get over here? 5. This is kind of more of the puzzle way where you kind of do the synthetic division. All right? This is a lot faster. Okay? All right. All right, guys, we're not. You don't have to write this one down. Okay? You don't have to write it down. We're just going to look at it. Okay? You guys ready? Do you guys see what is the remainder when p of x is divided by x minus 6? So what basically, what are we looking for? P of what? P of 6. Well, what is p of 6? Negative 5. Okay? Listen up. If p of x is divided by x plus 4, what's the opposite? P of negative 4. And what's our remainder going to be? There you go. All right? That's it. Okay? So you guys are going to get a couple of these questions and a couple of the more, maybe a little bit more difficult. Not really. You only have really one difficult question where you got to do what? Where you got to go back and do all the, yeah, the synthetic. Okay? It's not that bad. Actually, the synthetic this is called synthetic substitution, and this is called what? Synthetic division. So you're going to get one kind of difficult. So go ahead and get that done. All right? Good luck.